welcome to Filmfolket's podcast. We that speaks today is Göran,
Johannes,
Daniel,
and Björn.
Today's movie is Sinners from 2025. The movie in brief.
It's the early 1930s, and the twin brothers Elijah and Elias Moore travel back home to Mississippi after years of doing questionable work in Chicago. With the money gained from this, they aim to set up a juke joint, a bar with music and entertainment serving as a safe haven in the American South's segregation and racism. To this end, they recruit their cousin Sammy, a gifted blues musician, against the wishes of his pastor father. As things are coming together with more people joining the project, they're soon visited by a peculiar stranger. Remick, who as a vampire has a very different idea of how to keep a happy community.
That's a good summary. And it was a little bit hard in the beginning of the movie when we got into the present. And then got to know more about the story. And I first thought that it was mostly because about people that has wrong idea about music. And then it turns to this supernatural vampire thing. So it's quite shifting.
Yeah, it's an interesting blend. It's kind of a cross between From Dusk to Dawn and what's the music called? Crossroads. Kind of a mix between that. But I do like it. It's a cool take on the vampire genre. Even though the vampire part is mainly a bit later in the second part of the movie. It feels like it comes kind of late. And I also feel like the movie is suffering a little bit from pacing. Because it begins kind of slowly and then it goes fast and then it slows down again a little bit too much. I noticed myself feeling like, I'm getting tired now. So it's moving too slowly. And then suddenly it's the end. So it's, yeah. But there's a lot of cool scenes. I really love the scene where one of the main villains die with the fire and stuff. Until the very end part where it's like a fire tornado. I don't know, but yeah, that final animation felt a little silly. It was so good in the beginning, and then that little silly part at the end was a bit disappointing. That it went a little over. They should have stopped a little earlier, because the pose and the fire and stuff, and you can see it becoming ash in the sunset, the sunrise. It's pretty cool up till that little final spiral of fire.
Yeah, I mean, I like the scene when they are in that building and when we're starting to hear different music from all generations trying to send the message to everyone. And I felt like it was a good take. That music has been part of everyone through generations.
That good music transcends time and space. Yeah.
Yeah, that was also very cool thing where they mix together future and past and present. And you can see like people dancing and playing music from different part of time. That was very cool. I also read that a lot of the music was performed live on the stage during filming, which is pretty cool.
Yes, they actually cast real musicians for these roles, and I think that really shows, and it's a very good choice. You have this interesting angle how Sammy is a target because he has a hereditary griot, a sort of storytelling musician from West Africa, and that people who have this gift for music, they carry their culture, and they have basically a supernatural value that makes him a target.
That's also something that's kind of interesting. It doesn't seem like the vampires are hungry for like blood per se. It's more about the stories they gain from taking over others or turning people. It's like it's a hive mind, so it gets the stories and it feeds on knowledge or experience rather.
Yeah, there's a point to this. I mentioned prior to this recording how basically at the start of the movie it mentions how there are people who have these kinds of gifts in different cultures, and as the movie progresses you see an example of this in different people. You have the Sami, who is the griot, and you have the Choctaw people who are basically hunting the vampire, and they have their fire keepers who have a special role in their society, and it's basically implied that Remick has targeted them for the same reason, and Remick himself being an Irish filly who himself was turned sometime in the Middle Ages. The reliance on music and preserving culture is basically the movie has a lot of allegory, and I won't go into the specifics of everything because that would take basically an hour. But you have this thing with the juke joint and Sammy's music, with this magical ability to unite and all that, and then you have Remick, who he wants Sammy's ability, he wants his music in his collective. The problem with this is that Remick's vampirism, preserving his own ways, is fundamentally predatory and parasitic. He is destroying the identity of his victims. He annihilates them in death and undeath. He turns even the Klansman couple into his drones, having them cheerfully singing Irish folk tunes alongside black people. So he isn't really helping them in any meaningful way. He is just destroying them for his own sake.
I wasn't entirely sure if he was puppeting them or if they actually preserved some of their previous characteristics, because as you say, they wouldn't really willingly go along with this, either dead or alive, and how they started to play the instruments. I was about to say violin, but guitars, I think. I don't think they really had that knowledge or ability before, and they gave both the lyrics and the melody playing by sharing a type of consciousness. So I don't know if they actually still live or if they are just more or less puppets with very advanced knowledge shared between them. In the end of the movie, there's two characters that survived the sunlight, but while the original vampire is dead, so are they free willingly spirits, or what are they really?
Yeah, I was thinking like it's the whole hive mind kind of thing, except if the one that turn them die, they become more like free. They still turn, but they don't have the original one to tell them what to do. So it's like he had a little bit of puppety power, but probably more like the whole music thing we're talking about. He swayed them with music and such.
I was wondering what could have been done differently and other thoughts.
like I mentioned before, the little fire tornado there during the death scene that kind of irks me a little bit. And then the pacing, of course. It went a little bit too much up and down.
I mean, I agree with you that the vampire part came quite late in the movie, because when we saw in the beginning, it looked more like he has been in a fight, and then he came back to his father. So it was not. I was not sure where the movie was going when it began. So I wonder if they could have maybe taking the vampire part earlier in the movie, so we could have got more story behind it. But that's just my thought.
Oh, I remember like, when we first get introduced to the vampire, he was running out in the sunlight, and it looked like it was pretty late in the day, not like early in the morning or something. It looked later in the day. So how the hell did he survive running in the sun for so long, being chased by the Indians? I mean, it was pretty open over there, open fields. So I don't know. I would like to have an explanation there.
Clouds.
You have a lot of details that aren't really explored that way, and well, basically that thing about him targeting the Choctaw, that they had chased him all day, taking cover and all that kind of a thing. There's actually some supplemental material to the movie that it doesn't exactly follow that part, but it explores more of Remek's background and that kind of a thing.
But still, overall, I think it's a good movie. I really like it.
As I wanted to bring this one up, particularly because of the music numbers and that kind of a thing. It's very interesting how it's made, the way the movie is set up, and how it transitions into this supernatural element. It basically tells a story that's very close to reality, and then it veers into the supernatural and a part that is deeply allegorical and symbolic, and it makes you think.
I think the music shines through a lot in the movie, and I also like the costume design that they are using. I think wasn't this supposed to be in like what time area?
It's the early 1930s, and yeah, they've done a really good job with the costume design. You have these appropriate outfits, and I think it's also nice seeing the Choctaw, their special outfits with the, I don't know what it's called, but they put across the shoulders. Also the whole thing about the smokestack twins, Elijah and Elijah. Basically that Michael B. Jordan plays two people, and they have these different personalities and have to interact in a certain way. I think that's really well done, and also how they made the way they dress. They have these color-coded outfits with the hats and
The accessories.
yes, it's really, really nicely done, and that also plays into the way the movie is lit, and how the outfits stand out, and the lighting is also very important in the scenes by nightfall as the party rolls on and everything. It's you have a primarily dark-skinned cast, and making that work in this night lighting is actually a challenge that they pull off really well.
Especially with authentic lighting for the time. And dim yellow light bulbs instead of proper lighting there. It was very well filmed for the challenges they had, especially in that time of night in that locale.
I also really like these scenes in the daytime where they're driving. You have these wide shots with the open sky and the fields. Recurring scene. I also think it's interesting how they have integrated this sort of folk spirituality that has survived in the American South with these descendants of enslaved people having these peculiar syncretic beliefs that aren't necessarily religious but culturally important, and have a special insight in these supernatural matters, with Annie, the character, having the only one who really understands that they're facing vampires, and that her spiritual rituals and the like is basically the one thing that genuinely works against these creatures. It's really noteworthy how the movie confronts the matter of religion, because of how Sammy's father is a preacher, but his church is a place of basically oppression and conformity, and he wants him to give up his musical gift. And you have, by the end of the movie, he reads a prayer to ward off Remick, but Remick just joins in, because what use is this faith that's older than he is? It's really interesting. Just that it's noteworthy that the movie got 13 nominations at the Oscars. It won 3 of them, actually, and 1 for the music.
Any idea for next time?
We mentioned Crossroads. Could be an interesting movie.
Yeah. Well, I wish you all goodbye for this time. Don't forget to watch, like, and subscribe, and follow our socials. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.